Hello, I'm Vivian McGrath from vivianmcgrath.com, and in this video I'm going to be talking about narcissist manipulation in relationships, in the workplace, and at the end of the video I'm going to tell you how to shut down a narcissist and disentangle yourself from them, and also how to stop attracting them in the first place. When we talk about narcissists, there are many traits that they have in common. Things like they can be extremely charming and charismatic. They're very self-obsessed. They're compulsive liars. They don't take responsibility for their actions. They can be parasitic, fearless, and intimidating. They are the arch emotional manipulators, and they lack empathy or any remorse or feelings of guilt. They can be callous, impulsive, vindictive, and aggressive. And when you look at the differences between other people, which are known as empaths, and the narcissistic brain, you know, everybody talks about this lack of empathy, but what does that mean? Well, we've got two parts of our brain. We've got cognitive empathy and emotional empathy, two types of empathy. And when we're born, we don't have any of these neurons in our brains. But by the age of about 4, if you're an empath, or, you know, a normal person, I'll call us, then you have a great bundle of them. And you have the ability to not only have cognitive empathy, which basically is the basic emotions, the basic instinctive emotions like lust or anger or fear, you know, those basic impulses, sexual impulses, whatever those basic impulses are, that is cognitive empathy. Emotional empathy is, and cognitive empathy in a way, is those childish, instinctive emotions that are there, you know, very early on. But what emotional empathy is all about is those feelings that as a rational adult, we can translate those base instinctive impulses and process them into feelings. So for example, lust can become love. It's a deeper feeling, it's a deeper emotion. Or anger, you know, the rational adult side of our brain that has emotional empathy can temper that anger, can override the base impulse to just erupt in a rage, which narcissists can't do. So what happens is, you know, people often say that narcissists don't have any empathy. Well, they lack emotional empathy, but they have cognitive empathy. They can look at other people and observe them, and they are brilliant at this actually. They study and observe other people, and they're very early on. They realize that the way other people emote or feel things when, say, observing some tragic event, they can see that other people feel deep feelings as though they are feeling what the people who are going through what they're seeing is feeling. They can observe that, and they realize that they're different. They don't feel that. So they can see it, but they don't feel it. They don't feel feelings of empathy. Like they can't, if you're sad, they can't feel what that feels like to feel your sadness. So they observe us and they see it, and they can read people very, very brilliantly. And then what they do is they mirror it back to you. They act as though they feel those feelings, but they don't. So when you first meet a narcissist, they are absolutely charming. They are the best thing you've ever met in your life. You know, they think like you do. They act like you do. They speak like you do. They like the same things that you do because they study you. They observe you and they mirror you. They basically reflect back to you who you are and your ideal dream person, who they think you want them to be. So they're basically reflecting your fantasy back to you. And then what happens is they put, they have a mask on. And that mask is the reflection. It's a mirror of you and what you want, what you desire, what you believe in, what you like. And so you are swept off your feet. And this could be when you're interviewing somebody at work for the role of a job. They're brilliant. They're brilliant in interviews. They tell you exactly what they think you want them to say and that you want to hear. In a relationship, they sweep you off your feet. They love bomb you. They're like the perfect guy or girl. They are just amazingly funny. They're very attentive. All that stuff. And that is all a mask. And once you're in, that mask will slip. So let's look at the workplace first. So narcissists in the workplace, as a boss, they're an utter nightmare. Because what they do, and you'll always know that there's somebody like this in the workplace, a sort of narcissistic, sociopathic or psychopathic type person, because it will be not like a normal workplace where you foster a community and you all lift each other up. No, it will be the opposite. It will be fostering distrust, fear. The boss will pit one person against the other. They might have a favorite each month, and it might change. The favorite person might change. So there's a favoritism rotation, if you like. And that person is the best thing since sliced bread. I'll start that again. The best thing since sliced bread. And the rest of you are just losers. You're hopeless, that sort of thing. And he'll pit, or he or she will pit you against other workers. So you start not trusting, because they'll say, well, that person says you're this, or this person believes you're that. So nobody knows whether to say anything about the boss to each other, because they can't trust whether it will get fed back to them. So you live in terror, you live in fear. You keep your head down. You don't want to get noticed, because the other thing that your boss could do is a public execution where they ridicule you. They make fun of you. They make an example of you in front of all your colleagues. That is what it's like working for a narcissistic boss. On the other hand, if they have a boss above them, they manage up brilliantly. They're charming, and all the other people under them are just hopeless losers, and they have to save the day regularly, because if they don't, everything's going to be a disaster. So that's what it's like in a workplace, working for a narcissist, and the way they manipulate you. But the best thing to do, and really the only thing to do if you're unhappy, you're miserable, which your chances are you will be working for a narcissistic type in the workplace, is leave them. Leave the company, leave that culture. It's toxic. It's not great for you. But you've got to be really, really careful, because narcissists and psychopathic type people can be very, very vindictive and very vengeful, and they can turn on you. They can take a legal fight against you. They could ruin your career by smearing you to the outside world, to your industry. So you've got to be really, really careful of getting them offside. So the best thing to do if you want to leave a narcissistic boss is do not let them know you're doing so. Plan to leave them very, very carefully, and don't get caught. Don't have them know that that's what you're doing. So be the perfect employee. Be cordial, be polite, keep your head down, try to engage with them as little as possible. And if you do, absolutely just stick to facts. Don't make jokes. Don't have any emotion in anything you do or say. And if you're given instructions by them, always put it back to them in writing. So if they say, I want you to do X and Y by this date, well, then you confirm in writing, this is what you've asked me to do. You've asked me to do X and Y by this date, because they will change what they do and what they say, and they will lie. So keep records of everything. Keep emotion out of everything. If you're going to go and have job interviews, do not get caught by them. Do not let them know that you're looking elsewhere, and be the perfect, polite, respectful employee. Flatter them even, because they're a complete sucker for flattery. And then when you leave, almost make it as though it's their idea, that you're doing them a favor, that sort of thing. Now, if you're looking... Oh, and the other thing about working for a narcissist is it's just a nightmare, because there's absolutely no strategy. They're moment to moment. They're impulsive. They react moment to moment. And the whole plan is that for them on a daily basis to let you know that they're in control, they're the boss, they're in charge, and they are superior to you. So number one, they will micromanage you constantly. They will have you reporting to them constantly so that they can tell you that you're an idiot and that they're having to save the day. And if you're in meetings with them, there won't be any strategy, because they just, whatever the latest shiny object is, they're going to go for that. Whatever, they'll come up with these grand ideas, and that impulsive idea that they've just had in the meeting, well, that's the latest strategy and the latest plan. And you're all going to go running around in circles, trying to please them and live up to that, and then bam, the whole plan will change. So I would, if you can, get out, but do not let them know that you are doing so. Keep your enemy close. Now, let's look at the narcissistic manipulation in relationships. So the same thing applies. When you first meet them, they're charming, they love bomb you, they sweep you off your feet, they mirror back to you. In fact, first, they will target you. You know, like a tiger stalking his prey, they will target you. And the thing about narcissists is they target people that they know they can manipulate, because the ultimate game of a narcissist is to have total control so that they feel superior and they feel great about themselves. And they look at you as a possession that they can control. So they will start to target. When they first meet you, they'll try all those manipulative tactics like love bombing and mirroring you, and they'll test the waters. They'll see whether you'll tolerate sarcasm and a little bit of sort of emotional abuse, whether you'll tolerate them telling you, well, I don't like what you're wearing, you know, and you'll then change what you're wearing. They'll test and they'll see, are you someone they can manipulate? And if they can, like your boundaries just kept getting pushed down, and then you go, okay, I'll change what I wear. You know, it's this coercive control. They'll try things on, and if it works, they'll try something again, and they'll see that you are someone that they can manipulate. Therefore, you're safe. You're a safe bet. You can be a good supply of whether it be status, you give them status, whether they can suck you dry for wealth, money, whether you have an apartment they can move into, you know, this sort of thing. And they'll keep that mask up of charm, the charm offensive up, as long as they feel that you are still questioning, you're still unsure. But once they know they have reeled you in and got you completely, usually that's when they've entangled you enough. So, for example, they've moved into your apartment, because it's usually them moving into yours. It won't be the other way around. Oh, and by the way, a relationship with a narcissist will accelerate so fast, you won't know what's hit you. Within months, weeks even, you will already have them telling you, oh, they've just, hit bad times. Can they borrow a bit of money? It will only be for now, and they promise they'll repay you later. Can I move into your apartment? Whatever. Can I marry you? Can I have a joint bank account with you? All these things will accelerate very, very rapidly. And that is all part of the entanglement. So then it becomes very hard for you to leave them. Once they've got total control and they feel safe and secure in that, then the mask will slip off. Because remember, they don't have emotional empathy. They have to act as though they have these feelings and emotions. So everything for them is a game, it's acting, it's a mask. And you can't keep this mask up for very long. It's very, very, very difficult. And they often have many masks. They'll tell you one story, they'll tell somebody else another story. And it's really hard for them to remember all their lives because they're complete compulsive liars. So it's very, very hard to keep multiple masks up. So eventually those masks will slip. Oh, just going back to how they target you. They study you, they observe you, they're masters of manipulation. And we make it really easy for them with social media. They see what art we love. They see the sort of friends we like. They see what makes us happy. So they study it. So when you're dating, for example, it's very easy for them to start reading the way they should act, behave, and what mask they should wear. Anyway, once they have reeled you in, that mask will come off and you will start to see the real them. And that is the person who can't control their impulses, the one who gets a narcissistic rage if they feel like they're losing power, who will get angry because you are their possession, as is any children that you've got. You are their child, their possession, their belonging, and they can control you any way they want. And if you don't behave and allow them to control you and dominate you, well, then they will go into a rage. And basically, if you question their behavior, if you stand up to them and argue with them, if you say, I'm going to walk away, well, then all these things make them fear that they're losing control. So they'll get extremely angry. And there'll be two responses. They'll either discard you. If they think they are absolutely going to lose control of you, they will dump you before you dump them, and they will discard you. Or they will abuse you and keep trying more and more ways to gain control. And that can be emotional abuse and then descending into physical abuse. Ultimately, if they cannot control you and they totally fear losing you, they often will kill you. That happens to 2 women every week. So the same thing applies. Sorry, I'm in Hong Kong and it's summer and it is very, very humid here. So I'm sort of sweltering a little bit here. And I'm sorry this is so long-winded. I do tend to talk a lot. Oh, I'll try and keep this short. So let's have a look. People stay, empaths who have this ability to feel and empathize for the other person. Often narcissists give us these really hard luck stories, these poor me stories, so that you will try to rescue them, save them, help them, give them money, allow them to move into your apartment, fall pregnant to them, marry them, whatever. They manipulate you in all these different ways because we feel their pain. We feel, oh, the poor thing, that's awful what they've been through. I want to help them. I want to rescue them, So we go out of a way and we really believe the fantasy, the first mask that they wore, the actor, the role they created and mirrored back to us, all our hearts, dreams and desires. That was our fantasy. And we keep that fantasy in our head even long after they've shown us who they really are. And you're never going to get that fantasy, because the bottom line is they cannot change. Even if they wanted to, they can't change, because they don't know how to feel emotional empathy. They can see that other people have those feelings, but they can't feel them themselves. And even if they wanted to, they won't change, because they know they're different to us, but they believe they're superior to us, because all of those people like us that have that emotional empathy, guess what? They know how to manipulate us. So you won't change them, and abuse will only get worse. So I would say the same thing. Plan to leave, but plan to leave safely. Do not tell them, I am leaving you, because you could trigger a narcissistic rage. As I said, 2 women get killed every week, and that when you're in the process of leaving or shortly after you've left is actually the most dangerous time. So what you do, it's the same thing. How do you shut down a narcissist? You flatter them, you charm them, you make them believe that you are being compliant with them, but you secretly take notes, journal everything, take notes of times and dates and any abuse. Keep a record, because you may need this later. And then plan, whether it's to set up your own bank account, whether it's to squirrel money away, whether it's to find a new place or a shelter that you can escape to, whether it is to get a job, line up a job if you haven't already got one. Plan your exit safely. And when and only when you're ready to leave. And even pack a bag in case you have to do it sooner, and leave that and any important documents like passports, birth certificates, whatever, with a very trusted family member or friend that they do not know the address of. So plan to leave safely. And then because they are vengeful, they are vindictive, and the reason you should also take records is they could then start a legal battle, particularly if it's over children. So how to shut down a narcissist? Well, as I said, don't let them know that you have one up on them, but plan to get away from them without them finding out. And then if you have to engage with them, disengage as much as you possibly can. If you don't have children with them, if you don't have a business with them or whatever, go cold turkey and cut contact. Block them. Block anyone that they can get to you through. And keep a record of everything. And if you have to deal with them, then only deal with them in a very factually, least amount of words possible basis. If it's about children, you could do it through a third party, a neutral third party, and only stick to the facts. I will meet you at this place at this time. I will expect you to return our child this time, whatever. Don't engage in any emotion. Now, whether it's in the workplace or whether it's in a relationship, they will try to press your buttons to react emotionally. but just don't, because emotional reactions they see as, I've got control again, and they will just use whatever you say back at you as a weapon. For example, like telling other people she's crazy, she's psycho, that sort of thing. So try to get away from them as best you can, but plan how to get away from them so they can hurt you in the least possible effective manner. So I hope that's helpful. If it is, please click the like button, subscribe, and share to anyone you know who is in a narcissistic relationship or having a nightmare with a boss or colleague at work. And do subscribe. And thanks again. I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.